Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where as always we learn through the misfortunes of others. I am your host, Uncivil Law, a licensed attorney in both Virginia and Texas, and we are here with the legal news roundup for April the 14th of 2023, the legal news that is happening in the world today. We begin with news of a classified documents leak that has led to an arrest of a National Guard airman, and this person is currently under arrest and appearing in federal court for their first appearance today. So we will read a little bit about this National Guard related leak and see what's happening there. A 21-year-old National Guardsman has been arrested over classified military intelligence leak that has apparently caused some problems. Jack Terexia shared the files on Discord, interestingly enough, although it doesn't say here, I know that from other articles, shared it on Discord and faces charges under the Espionage Act, which is kind of the thing that you would expect when you're sharing classified information on Discord. Aerial footage shows officers making an arrest at the family home in Massachusetts. Documents that were leaked revealed information relating to the Ukrainian war and also U.S. operations as it relates to spying on allies. So the United States does spying. It does spying on everyone, as you would expect. And so that is an issue, but, having it released that we're spying on allies causes some embarrassment. As my eyes decide now, right now, is really a really good time to have an allergic reaction. My eyes were fine 2 minutes ago, but no, my eyes decide, you know what would be good? How about if right now your eyes have a massive allergy attack? Great. The medication for the allergies doesn't seem to be working today. Anyways, let's press on. Footage of the arrest about an hour south of Boston shows the young man walking backwards with his hands raised to the FBI. He was handcuffed and led to a vehicle. The roads in the area were blocked by police during the arrest. There were also 6 to 8 army guys with rifles walking around because, of course, this relates to military. So the military police were also involved in this to some degree. The individual is listed as an airman in the intelligence wing of the Air National Guard. According to his service record, he joined in 2019. His official title is Cyber Transport Systems Journeyman and holds the rank of Airman First Class, which I believe is enlisted rank 3. In a brief statement, the Attorney General said the suspect has been taken into custody without incident. There has not, of course, been any further release at this time as to details of the investigation or potential motive for the release. The Defense Department said the leak was a deliberate criminal act. When asked how such a young airman has access to classified defense documents, the general stated that personnel are entrusted with a lot of responsibility at a very early age. I mean, that can be very true. So, just because you're relatively inexperienced doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have access to information and you're entrusted with that information. So, and you can lead troops into battle. Or if you're the Air Force, and you're relatively low ranked, you might be guarding the nuclear missiles. So there is a lot of responsibility there. So, but you're an adult, so take responsibility. A classmate of his says he was surprised that this person was involved in this because his friend said that he was a good kid, not a troublemaker, and it was just apparently a stupid kid's mistake. So starting at least several months ago, somewhere between 50 and 100 documents were posted on Discord that contained a range of intelligence assessments about the war with Ukraine and also contained information about intelligence operations around the world, including with and potentially even against allies. On Wednesday, the Washington Post published an interview with one of the members of Discord where the documents initially appeared. He described the leaker as a young, charismatic gun enthusiast who worked at an unnamed military base. The Post reported that the man was the leader of the Discord chat room, whose roughly 24 members swapped memes, jokes, and idle chit-chat and watched films together. The members of the Discord include people from Russia and Ukraine and a number of other countries, so that presents some real issues there. At first, the leaks were kept inside a small chat room, but one of the members then posted them on Discord, including in other Discords relating to Minecraft and some sort of Filipino YouTuber. So the documents posted at one group amazingly got spread beyond the group because they were no longer contained. Who could see that coming? Literally everybody. From there, they were posted on 4chan and Telegram, and then were used to alter information to some degree. And that is what's happening in relation to that. So, yeah, you don't share the classified information on a Discord or really anywhere that is not authorized, because amazingly, when it's shared with unauthorized people, they might share it with others who might share it with others. And that causes all kinds of problems because it's probably classified for a reason. Now, that being said, the United States, like many countries, has a tendency to overclassify, but this information seems to, be classified for a reason relating to United States assessment of the war in Ukraine, relating to United States intelligence operations. So, yeah, don't do that. So, yeah. He going to jail. He going to jail. Oh, Lord. All right. Next story. Yeah, I'll skip that one right now. All right. From Volokh conspiracy, a decision from the Mississippi Court of Appeals on the issue of when slurs can be defamation. So this might be something like calling someone a Nazi, for example, or something like that. It's like, can you sue for defamation for these? The general answer has been no on this kind of issue. And the Mississippi Court of Appeals, their intermediate court, has split 5-4 on the subject. Or apologize, the Mississippi Court of Appeals is actually their Supreme Court. So I didn't know that. So it's their highest court, the Mississippi Court of Appeals. So this was decided Tuesday, and here is the legal issue. Judith Faulkner sued Dr. Fagan for defamation of character and intentional infliction of emotional distress. At the time of the issue, Faulkner was a surgical scheduler at a center where Dr. Fagan, who was an orthopedic surgeon, worked. The suit arose out of a one-time outburst from Fagan had in an operating room where he called the scheduler an effing C word and approximately 4 other individuals after the parties had an argument over scheduling. After the bench trial, the county court entered judgment in favor of the scheduler for $30,000 on defamation claims relating to slander. The doctor appealed, and the circuit court affirmed the judgment. Now on appeal, the Supreme Court, the highest court, the Court of Appeals in Mississippi, reverses. The trial court's rulings that elements of falsity and accountability were met based on findings that Dr. Fagan used the words as commentary on job performance, but the highest court does not find that to be the case. The common law has always differentiated sharply between genuine defamation comments, as opposed to obscenities, vulgarities, insults, epithets, name-calling, and verbal abuse. Such statements may be hurtful, obnoxious, insulting, tasteless, but not actionable. The Mississippi Supreme Court has recognized that name-calling and verbal abuse are to be taken as statements of opinion, not fact, and therefore will not give rise to libel. So this is, generally speaking, the law on this kind of thing when you have this kind of issue. So as a general proposition, and this case seems to be along those lines, if you're just using a generalized term, it is not actionable. So calling someone like a white supremacist, calling someone a Nazi is generally held to be a matter of opinion. Now, that being the case, you might throw in additional words, or they might be in a broader context that makes them defamation, because defamation has to be understood in the context as a whole. But merely, purely calling someone a Nazi, merely, purely calling someone a white supremacist, merely, purely calling someone a effing C word is not generally defamation. It is generally considered to be a matter of opinion. Not for the least of reasons that because it can't be falsified. Like how do you prove it's not true? What makes someone one of those things? And especially the way that the words are commonly used. They're commonly used as expressions of opinion. So therefore they're not actionable in defamation. So this decision seems well rooted in that generalized concept. No evidence shows the doctor called the scheduler this particular evidence because they were disparaging professional capabilities. The doctor testified that he did not necessarily use the words because he didn't like how she performed the job. Instead, he was upset about the situation that happened. And it's just what he said. He was testifying that he was not happy the cases did not get switched. That was the whole point of the argument. He later testified, I don't think I was making a generalized statement about how she overall does her job. It was more about the situation. Thank you for saying you like the beard. I trimmed it today. Again, to make it nice and clean. You know, trim the lines, make it nice lines. You know, trim it, make sure it looks all fancy, clean, you know. So thank you. I appreciate it. Nearly a century of law allows a Mississippian to file a lawsuit against another where there's an attack on capabilities of trade. That's pretty typical. Defamation per se, when you attack someone's profession. This, of course, does not mean that all words are necessarily actionable. Our court system does not exist to safeguard hurt feelings or shield delicate ears, but rather when words are used relating to damaging business or reputation for business. So that's sort of the distinction here. And this is a line drawing problem, like many line drawing problems are, which I think is one of the reasons it came down 5-4 on the split. But based on the information that's available, this seems to be the more prudential legal opinion. So it's a more core stuff. MLS Law would like to collaborate with me. Okay. Well, have them contact my email address. It's kurt@uncivillawllc.com and we'll talk. It's, I haven't seen a request from MLS Law. So, if they want to collab, contact me. So that is what's happening in Mississippi. Did I use Manscaped? No. I used a Panasonic trimmer, which works perfectly fine. I appreciate your love. Thank you very much. All right. MLS Law did contact me. Did they? Let's find out. Let's see. I don't see an email. I don't see any requests from anyone called MLS Law? I don't see it. I don't see any requests. Check my spam folder. I'm looking. I'm looking at my spam folder right now. I don't see any requests anywhere in my folder for anything like that. David Helm? I don't see any email from anyone called Helm anywhere in my system. Don't have it. Don't have it. I don't have any email from anyone like that. Yeah, sorry, don't have it. So I can't respond to emails I didn't get. So have them email me again, I guess. You know where he sent it to, Kurt? How would I know where he sent it to? No. How would I know where he sent it to? No. He might have made a mistake in the email. Yeah. That's happened before. That's happened before where people have made mistakes and they've typoed the email. It happened once where someone dropped an L. They're like, I keep trying to type it right, and every time it's just autocorrected wrong. And it happened once where someone forgot the LLC at the end of the email address sent to kurt@uncivillaw.com, which is not a valid address. It's kurt@uncivillawllc.com. So he might have typoed the address. It's happened before. And then people blame me and they get mad. All right, let's do a new story. Donald Trump has decided apparently to go on the more aggressive path by suing Michael Cohen, his ex-lawyer, for $500 million for reputational harm. I'm not sure that this is a good decision legally or tactically. I question this on a lot of levels. But Donald Trump wants to apparently go on the offense and sue Michael Cohen for $500 million. Okay. All right. Donald Trump has sued Michael Cohen for $500 million, threatening his former lawyer and star witness against him in his criminal case. In the 32-page complaint, Trump claims that Cohen breached contractual terms of confidentiality agreements he signed as a condition of employment, revealing former confidences, spreading falsehoods with malicious intent, and to wholly self-serving ends. Trump also claims that Cohen has unlawfully converted his business property when he fraudulently misrepresented a business expenditure and stated he was owed an extra $74,000 over the true amount of the expenditure. Wow. That's an interesting way to go, Trump. I mean, that is some cojones to try to put him on the defensive. So, and that's interesting. Since pleading guilty to campaign finance violations, Cohen has become one of former President Trump's sharpest critics by revealing hush money checks signed by Trump in congressional testimony and speaking dozens of times to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. His insights into the system for executing the hush money payments in increments helped produce the 34 count page indictment. So yeah, this looks like witness intimidation. This looks like retaliation. This looks like a lot of things. I don't know about any of this. I don't think I would advise this course of action. This seems deeply, deeply questionable. Cohen has also made myriad public statements, including publication of 2 books, podcast series, and innumerable mainstream media appearances. Trump has claimed he asked Cohen to cease and desist, but Cohen appears to be emboldened and repeatedly continues to make wrong and false statements. Wow, that seems, yeah. The former president claims his actions have reached a proverbial crescendo. Cohen's attorney released a statement accusing Trump of abusing the legal system of a form of harassment and intimidation. That's definitely how it could look for sure. And with him being a witness against you in your criminal case, seems questionable. It appears that he's terrified by his looming legal perils and attempting to send a message. Cohen will not be deterred as confident the suit will fail based on facts and law. Yeah. In the Southern District of Florida, the same federal court where Trump filed the lawsuit, a district judge has issued a $1 million sanction order against Trump and one of the attorneys relating to a pattern of frivolous litigation. So yeah, that was an interesting one where the attorney got whacked for, I think it was $970,000, as memory serves, for frivolous litigation. And, there was a lot of questionable and arguably frivolous litigation, and this seems along those lines. Trump lawsuit claims is breach of fiduciary duty, breach of contract, breach of implied covenant of good faith, unjust enrichment, and conversion. Okay. Manhattan District Attorney, of course, does not immediately comment because that would be kind of dumb for them to comment. Multiple legal experts say that Trump filing probably doesn't rise to witness intimidation. Probably not in the strictest legal sense, but the perception. So is it witness intimidation legally? Probably not. Does it look that way? Yeah. Is this a good idea? When there's future testimony by Cohen and someone's asked about being sued because it increases Cohen's credibility, looks that way. He'll look that way to a jury. A former federal prosecutor who was asked to comment said they could not recall a case where anything like this has happened before, where you have the person who is under indictment suing a witness. It's not inconceivable Trump could have a valid claim, but yeah. And does it look that way? So there are potential legal issues here that are not necessarily wholly invalid, but I have many, many questions on this on a lot of different levels. So yeah. Thank you, Alan, for your continuing gift memberships to the channel. Alan has been a strong supporter of the channel in recent days, and the continuing support is deeply appreciated. Thank you very much, Alan, for your continuing memberships. They are wonderful. Also, thank you to GUI for your gift memberships earlier. That was really, really nice of you. Gift memberships help a lot. Thank you for the super chat asking when is my next cooking video. I don't know. Next time I cook, I guess. Thank you for that super chat. And thank you for everyone who's here, as always. Appreciate it at all. Thank you. All right, let's do a new story. Ron DeSantis has signed a 6-week abortion ban into law, one of the more aggressive laws in the country, but not the most aggressive, but banning all abortions after 6 weeks. So that would presumably ban, as a practical matter, pretty much most abortions, except if you happen to do pregnancy tests on a regular basis, I suppose. But it would be difficult to do within the time frame. Republican governor signed into law a bill approved by the Republican legislature to ban abortion after 6 weeks. The governor office said in a statement that he signed the legislation and that will give him a key political victory among Republican primary voters if he decides to run for president. The 6-week ban will take effect only if the state's current 15-week ban is upheld in an ongoing legal challenge before the state's Supreme Court, which would, of course, turn on the state's constitution, and you would expect to be upheld. But, we'll see on that issue. The policy would have wide implications for abortion access throughout the region after the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi have banned abortion at all stages of pregnancy, while Georgia forbids the procedure after about 6 weeks. Florida says that they've had the opportunity to lead the national debate about the importance of protecting life and giving every child the opportunity to be born and fulfill their purpose. Democrats, of course, for their part, have criticized it as extreme. The ban would prohibit 4 million Americans. Apologize, let me do that again. This will get thrown out on HIPAA? No, it won't. The ban would prevent 4 million Florida women of reproductive age from accessing abortion care after 6 weeks before many women even know they're pregnant, the White House press secretary stated. The ban would also impact the nearly 15 million women of reproductive age who live in abortion ban states throughout the South, many of whom have previously relied on travel to Florida as an access for care. The law does contain some exceptions, including to save life. Abortions for pregnancy or relating to incest or rape would be allowed until 15th week, providing the woman has documented a restraining order or police report. Drugs that induce medications could be dispensed only in person or by a physician. I can't think of any bill that's going to provide more protection to more people who are more vulnerable than this piece of legislation, a Republican representative has commented. So that's all there is about that. All right. Let's do another, perhaps less controversial issue. We'll see. All right. Okay. Yeah, well, I love the way the chat is going. I'm not sure that that's encouraging. Maybe I shouldn't cover these kinds of stories. The United States Supreme Court is going to hear a case that could have impact on religious workers as it relates to religious accommodation by the workplace. A former postal worker is suing relating to religious accommodation, and it would potentially have impacts that would impact the private sector as well. The former postal service carrier spent every day for 7 years delivering mail, except for Sundays, when they would attend worship service and rest. But in 2019, the Mennonite said that his boss forced him to choose between practicing faith or a paycheck, so he resigned. He said, I want to own what I believe and live out that life. The person is at the US Supreme Court that would require employers to be more accommodating of religiously observant workers, including having a right to skip shifts on Sabbath. Federal law does require employers to accommodate religious belief unless it imposes an undue hardship. But the Supreme Court has interpreted undue hardship to mean anything more than de minimis cost. So if it has any real business impact, then you don't have to accommodate it. So it's not hard to show much more than de minimis. So as a result of that, most things don't have to be accommodated. The USPS said the refusal to work on Sundays imposed cost on operations, creating tense atmospheres, breeding resentment towards management, and finding substitutes was time consuming. Two lower federal courts applying the current standard of de minimis said this was more than de minimis. While the Postal Service itself does not typically deliver mail on Sundays, although it does for express packages, the USPS does deliver express mail every day of the year, including Christmas Day. So most mail doesn't get delivered on Sunday. But beginning in 2015, carriers nationwide were contracted to deliver packages for companies like Amazon. The USPS says the arrangement has been a major source of revenue in the face of declining mail. So the Postal Service is a last mile carrier for packages for other companies. This has been good for the Postal Service and increasing revenue, but means now means more people have to work on Sunday. They began to ask people in his position to deliver mail on Sunday or holidays, and I told them that I don't work on the Lord's Day. So that is where the conflict is rising. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act makes it unlawful to discriminate against any individual with respect to compensation, terms, conditions, or privileges of employment because of religion, unless the employer can show that reasonable accommodation would create an undue hardship, which again is anything more than de minimis cost. So it doesn't take very much to get there. At first, the postmaster tried to accommodate the request, tapping substitute carriers, but 1 year later, the boss said they changed their mind, saying, I'm not going to put up with your stuff this year. And she said, basically, you're going to have to find another job or work Sundays. Unwilling to compromise, he transferred to a smaller post office, but as demand grew, he couldn't avoid the requirements even at the smaller post office. The individual chose to skip 24 Sunday shifts over 2 years because of his religious beliefs. After being repeatedly disciplined for not showing up, he resigned and sued for religious discrimination. The person suing says the bar for legally refusing needs to be higher than de minimis. But then, of course, the question is where? Where is the line? What does undue hardship mean in this context? This case would therefore open the floodgates to every employee in the workforce because, well, the law applies to everyone. So the question is, well, what accommodation is required? So that will be the issue. A Supreme Court ruling in favor of the individual could empower pharmacists to not fill birth control prescriptions, for example. City clerks to object to same-sex marriage licenses, probably not that. And employers to treat men and women differently, invoking religious belief. Possibly some of that. Some of that is a little parade of horribles, but gives you an idea of some of the things that's possible, I suppose. The Supreme Court is going to hear oral arguments on this issue on Tuesday. So something to watch out for sure, on the issue of religious accommodation in the workplace. Okay. Resigning rather than getting fired will bite him. I doubt that will be the issue. Resigning under these circumstances would be typically considered to be a constructive termination. It would also work that way for unemployment benefit purposes, incidentally. You also have similar concepts, for example, in other areas of law. For example, if you are renting an apartment and the landlord makes it, what would be the right word? The landlord makes it unhabitable in order to force you to leave, and you leave, that would be what's considered constructive eviction. So the fact that he resigned probably not going to turn this. Is the fact that it's USPS make the difference? Probably not. No, I don't think there's anything in the law that would impact the fact that it's the Postal Service as opposed to something else. Religious exemption for vaccines? Sure. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people ask for religious exemptions for vaccines. A lot of people got them. Some people didn't. We've covered those lawsuits before. Wasn't it the Air Force? Was either the Air Force or the Navy? I forget which one. It might have been the Navy. Didn't give any exemptions at all. And there were servicemen who sued, including Navy SEALs. We covered it before, which was pretty badass. A bunch of Navy SEALs suing the Navy for not giving religious accommodations for the vaccine. So yeah, that's definitely a thing for vaccine too. Thank you again for the gift memberships, Goo I appreciate those as always. All right, let's cover some funner stories, I suppose. Mine was denied at work. They did a mass denial for religious exemptions. Yeah, and then you go to court. You go to court and you sue, as some people did. So, especially if it's mass denial, if they're denying everybody, it's a bit of a problem. So, yeah, I think like the Air Force had a very low rate. It was like 7% or something. And the Navy was 0. Or maybe it was the other way around. I forget. One of them was like 0 and one of them was like 8. Something like that. So they weren't granting a lot of them. Well, I think both got wind up getting sued. I think both the Air Force and Army got sued, or Air Force and Navy got sued. The Army might have gotten sued too, but we covered the Navy and the Air Force cases before, including the Navy SEALs because it's badass. All right. A former Family Feud contestant apparently really did have a family feud. He has been accused of murdering his estranged wife and is looking for private investigators who will help pursue his prowler theory. Here is a former Family Feud contestant looking very excited, and someone he apparently had a feud with. Interesting. Thank you, D, for the gift memberships, as always. I appreciate it. The former Family Feud contestant, who made national headlines after being accused of murdering his estranged wife, told the trial court he can't afford to pay for private investigators to pursue the theory that a prowler is really to blame. Tim Blifnick, who will turn 40, stands accused of murdering his estranged wife, Rebecca, a 41-year-old nurse and mother of 3 boys who was shot to death in her home. Prosecutors say that following the arrest, they called the murder a heinous and premeditated act and horrific crime, not a random act of violence. Tragically, the woman was found dead after she never made it to school to pick up her kids. On Tuesday, in an ongoing probate case, the parents received a favorable ruling on funds relating to their daughter's estate, and those funds were therefore blocked from being used by the defense. Muddy River News reports the judge ruled estate funds should be used to care for children and upkeep of property, but not for defense. Drew Schnack, the attorney for Tim, in the probate case, told the court his client had been borrowing money from the family. Reportedly says client has been basically left penniless and would have to throw themselves on the mercy of the trial court for public funds. The defense wants to hire private investigators to look into evidence that someone other than Tim committed the crime, the lawyer said. The defendant followed up in criminal court to swear in an affidavit that for the purposes of the defense, he's broke and needs public assistance. The sworn affidavit says that he's currently making nothing and has no access to assets due to probate proceedings. So, might need a public defender. The defense attorney has asked for $10,000 in funds for a private investigator after the judge ruled that they were indigent. We have every reason to believe it's a prowler in the area, not Tim. So we have some identification of this individual, but we need someone to look into it who has the skills. Okay. The defendant pleaded not guilty in March. The court docket shows the motion hearing is scheduled to take place on April 19th. An April 11th docket entry shows state motions to exclude Tim's out-of-court statements and include Becky Biffnick's Our Family Wizard messages. There's also a recent motion over the defendant seeking order of protection. After the arrest, it was noticed that Tim and his family members appeared on Family Feud, a fact that stunned at least one former opponent in the wake of Tim's arrest. During the show, Steve Harvey asked him about the biggest mistake a person makes at their wedding. And he apparently said, "Honey, I love you," but said, "I do." Not a mistake. I love my wife. Oh, Lord. A GoFundMe has also been set up for the children, which has apparently raised $96,000. There are no words to adequately capture our devastation in the wake of the death. A brutal, selfish act forever changed our lives, leaving an incredibly raw and deep void in our family, most especially for her sons. As the investigation continues, we want to thank the police department and state's attorney, who have also worked tirelessly in pursuit of truth. So, yeah, this guy is in some trouble relating to the murder of his former wife. The Family Feud may have spilled off into the real world and is seeking money to hire a private investigator. So it'll be interesting to see how the trial court deals with all that. Fun. Fun. Thank you, D, again for the gift memberships. Thank you, Alan, again for the gift memberships. You get another extra special thanks because you've been such a good supporter of the channel in the recent days. Thank you very much. Thank you for the 217 of you who are currently here. I hope you're enjoying this. Could I do a bit on the Restrict Act? I covered it a little bit. It poses a lot of really concerning issues. It covers. It's a very broad law to deal with a very specific problem. The Restrict Act would give the Secretary of Commerce the broad power to regulate technology as it relates to foreign adversaries, social media, and other things, but it would impact people in the United States. And the language is incredibly broad. And it's concerning. So, yeah. All right. But we've definitely covered it a lot. Some people have described it as the Patriot Act for the internet age. I don't think that's a fully unfair comparison. The Patriot Act gave the government a lot of power. This is arguably worse, actually, in some ways, to be honest. The Patriot Act is probably more narrowly tailored than the Restrict Act, and that's saying something. That's saying something. All right. Let's wrap up today's stream with Florida Mam. Not as exciting as other Florida Mans, but we do what we can. All right. Today's Florida Mam was arrested after hitting a wife with flying chicken wings. Chicken wings. The chickens are flying in Florida. Outstanding. A Florida man has been arrested after police say he threw chicken wings at his wife during an argument. Police responded to a disturbance call at the home Sunday night. When officers arrived, they say the victim was holding a baby and asked to be taken somewhere safe. According to the suspect's arrest report, the victim told the police defendant and her had been arguing over the defendant having a lover. Potentially some cheating going on in Florida man's home. The victim said defendant threw wings at her, with some hitting her on the shoulder and under the chin. Officers at the scene say they saw chicken wing sauce on the victim's chin, neck, and shoulder. The victim said she tried to get away from the defendant by running with her baby to the bedroom. According to the arrest affidavit, there's an audio recording of the incident. When the victim didn't open the door, the defendant is heard yelling, "I'm about to beat your effing ass," and began violently banging on the door, which could be heard in the recording. During questioning, officers said the individual admitted getting mad and throwing wings, but did not intend to hit the victim. He also said he went to the bedroom to get his cell phone. He has been charged with assault and has been bonded out. So, Florida man using the chicken wings for the domestic assault. Thank you, Megan, for the gift memberships. As always, that is appreciated. Thank you for the 20 gift memberships. That's very generous. I appreciate everyone who's been so generous with gift memberships lately. These morning streams have been good for memberships. We've been doing very well in memberships in the mornings. That is encouraging. So, yeah, returning the favor. Yeah, see, this is why gift memberships are so good. This is why gift memberships are so good for the channel, right? It's like when you give out gift memberships, people get emails about them. And those emails are basically a free advertising tool. It doesn't cost you anything more, right? It doesn't cost me anything more, right? So it's the same from a financial proposition as a super chat, but gift memberships are superior to super chats because they serve as a free advertising tool. YouTube sends out an email being like, hey, you just got a free membership at this channel. And some of those people will then choose to renew those memberships. And some of those people will choose to buy gift memberships for others. You know? So it helps to create a bit of a virtuous cycle. You know, not everyone obviously will do that, but 0% of the people will do that responsive to a super chat, right? Because super chats, you don't get notifications like that, right? I mean, super chats might induce someone else to send a super chat, so that's not totally fair. But whatever advantages super chats have, membership seems to have more. So I really appreciate it. Brand accounts cannot be gifted anything. Yeah, I'm sorry about that then. I don't know about that. Why do you have a branded account? Well, I'm going to sign off. I will be on in 15 minutes with Eric Hunley for laid back news. This stream should automatically redirect that way. So you will see that. And you can check me out there where we'll discuss some more news. In the meantime, I'm going to make some coffee. So I will have some coffee and go from there. Will I cover the OnlyFans trial? Probably. Yeah, I would imagine the answer is yes. I will cover the OnlyFans trial. So, yeah. Friday Night Frenzy, probably not tonight. I have something else tonight. I'm meeting up with my improv group for a party. So probably not Friday Night Frenzy tonight, no. But maybe next week. So, yeah. We'll see how it goes. I've been on Civil Law. I hope all's well. Till later, my friends. Cheers and goodbye.